The Texas Gulf Coast took a beating from strong winds and torrential rains overnight as Tropical Storm Frances came ashore up the coast from Corpus Christi. This morning, the storm continues to batter Texas. Hello, I'm Vivian Brown. Welcome to Weather Center. The major concern now is the severe coastal and flash flooding Frances is causing in parts of both Texas and Louisiana as well. We've got a live report coming up from Galveston. Also today, San Francisco will be sunny and mild, while Detroit will be sunny and warm. Philadelphia also will enjoy sunny skies and warm temperatures. The forecast coming up a little later. First, however, we want to give the latest details on Tropical Storm Frances. Here's Bruce Edwards in the Forecast Center.
Thanks, Vivian, and good morning, everyone. Frances developed a little more yesterday evening. Still, it was a tropical storm, a strong one, as it came on shore near around Port O'Connor, Texas, yesterday, and with maximum winds about 65 miles per hour. It is now just hovering around the coastal bend of Texas, and that's creating some flooding problems. Here's the latest observation from the National Hurricane Center as of 7 a.m. Central Time. At Frances Center, 28.7 north, 98 degrees west, or approximately 70 miles south-southeast of San Antonio. Top winds at 45. And again, when it made landfall at roughly 1 o'clock Central Time this morning, it had sustained winds about 65 miles an hour. So again, it has weakened over the land areas as is typical. Movement northwest at 12, but it appears to be slowing down considerably as we've been watching it on radar and satellite pictures over the last couple of hours. We do have tropical storm warnings in effect from Baffin Bay, Texas, up to Morgan City, Louisiana at the present time. They may be discontinued later on this afternoon, but they're still in effect at the present time. Small craft, keep the dinghy at the dock. I mean, don't venture out. The Gulf's pretty angry this morning. Severe weather, always a threat with a landfalling tropical storm or hurricane, and the Severe Storms Forecast Center has issued a tornado watch for eastern Texas and southwestern Louisiana until 1 o'clock Central Time. Reports of funnel clouds already this morning around the Houston metro area. There was a tornado warning for Cameron Parish, Louisiana. That has been canceled. So as that storm has weakened somewhat, flash flood watches encompass much of eastern and southern Texas as well as southwestern and south central Louisiana this morning because of the significant moisture. Well, yesterday, he was in Corpus Christi, Texas, moved up the coast to Galveston just in time to greet some heavy squalls coming in from Frances. And the Weather Channel's Mike Seidel is still in Galveston this morning to report on conditions. Good morning, Mike.
And good morning, Bruce. We're here along Seawall Boulevard here in Galveston, and we're getting hit hard again by some of these squalls from Tropical Storm Frances. Raining about as hard as it was this morning as Frances made landfall, not quite as windy. At that point, we were probably getting wind gusts to hurricane force. Now the winds are gusting up to about 50 miles an hour. This additional rain is not good news. Most of the interior of Galveston Island is flooded. The west end, especially as you go down towards Jamaica Beach, is underwater. And any more rain is just going to make the situation worse. The water is not draining out very well because of the tide being above average. So it's one of those situations where you need to sit tight, stay at home, try to stay off the roadways. I-45 is okay, but a lot of these secondary roads, including the farm-to-market roads, are impassable. And remember, if you come up to some water on the road, the best bet is to turn around, go the other way. You don't know how deep the water is. Most people lose their lives in flash floods in their cars because they're swept away. We'll keep you updated from Galveston Beach as the rain continues to hammer the area. Back to you, Bruce.
Thanks very much. Mike Seidel live in Galveston, Texas on this Friday morning. We're joined now by Dr. Steve Lyons, a Weather Channel's a tropical storm expert. And Dr. Lyons, we've been watching Frances moving on shore. When it came on shore, it was moving pretty briskly. But boy, it seems to have really slowed down.
Well, it looks like the center is reforming right on the coast, and you can see here that here's the satellite imagery. It looks like based on the latest surface observations and our analysis here at the Weather Channel, the surface center is right about there, the lowest pressure. So it started to move inland, but it is reformed right on the coast, and now appears to be somewhat stationary there. And you can see it here in the radar. The loop is right here. The circulation is roughly right there. Of course, the bad news there is it continues to bring all this moisture right along the South Texas coast, Louisiana coast, and until that moves inland, that's going to continue.
Well, earlier around Palacios, Victoria, they were hard hit with the heavy rains, but this morning it has been Galveston, Houston, and up to Beaumont and Port Arthur with the heaviest squalls.
Yeah, here's what Mike was just in that you just saw on our live shot there, and Lake Charles is about ready to get some very strong thunderstorms coming out of the south, and this is sort of an indication of a bow echo, so they could experience some very strong winds there the next probably 45 minutes or so. So be careful there.
Again, the tornado warning for Cameron Parish has been canceled, but we may see another one coming with that line moving ashore. Well, Houston's been inundated with heavy rains, and really a big problem down through southeastern Texas is flooding. And we're fortunate enough to have on the phone Mr. Bill Reed, meteorologist in charge for the National Weather Service office in Houston. Good morning, Bill. Can you give us the flooding potential that you have now in the Houston area this morning?
Yes, good morning. I guarantee you we've got a flood problem going on here. We're starting to get water in some houses due to ponding and overflow of some of the bayous. It's being aggravated because, as you pointed out, the storm's not moving and the tides are staying up. We're still running 5 to 7 feet in the bay. We had a report of an 8-foot tide this hour at the Matagorda locks on the Colorado River. And on this flat ground, the runoff down near the coast doesn't give the rain a chance to run off, and we just aggravate that flooding. We've had 8 to 10 inches of rain almost area-wide along the coast, and an additional 5 to 10 is not out of the question today.
Bill, what advice would you have for the residents who are in and around the Houston, Galveston area for this morning with the conditions as they are?
Well, we would recommend people that don't have to be out and about not do so. The travel's difficult at best. Most of the feeder roads up on the interstates are experiencing flooding that traps cars.
All right, thank you, Bill Reed, meteorologist in charge of the Houston National Weather Service office. We apologize for a little bit of an audio problem. It wasn't R2-D2 or Darth Vader talking with us, Bill Reed. Right now, we're looking at that squally weather. Here's another radar. New Orleans has had some heavier squalls, and now even up towards Gulfport looks like a pretty good little squall line pushing on shore.
Right, this area in here, very heavy showers moving up that way. And keep in mind, the tropical storm force winds are well offshore, upwards of 200 miles away. You can see these are the gusts along the coast, but out over the water, there's some very strong winds at the buoys out in here pointing out of the south or southeast, so that's keeping the seas 15 to 20 feet offshore and high surf all along the coast.
And heavy rain potential, 5 to 10 inches in the next 12 hours, not out of the question. Dr. Lyons,
not.
Thank you very much. As you can see, Francis is on shore, but there's still a whole lot of problems that it's capable of causing, and we'll keep you updated on the latest. You can always update yourself on the latest information on the internet at weather.com. Now, let's check out on the nation's weather, see what else is going on. With all the details, here's Vivian Brown.
Well, thanks, Bruce. This edition of Weather Center is sponsored by Lowe's Home Improvement Warehouse. The latest satellite picture shows the large canopy of clouds, of course, from Tropical Storm Francis that Bruce just told us about. We have the cirrus clouds as far east as Georgia and Alabama, though no rain falling from these clouds at this time. The lack of clouds certainly will provide widespread sunshine over the northeast to the mid-Atlantic.
Tropical Storm Francis continues to bring heavy rain and flooding to many areas of the upper Texas Gulf Coast. I'm Mike Seidel in Galveston, Texas. I'll have a live report coming up next.
And good morning and welcome to Weather Center. I'm Will Annan. Tropical Storm Francis, now meandering through Texas, is dumping heavy rain in its path. Now the concern is over for severe weather. We're going to get more from the Forecast Center right now, and standing by is Bruce Edwards.
Thanks, Will, and good morning, everyone. Again, Tropical Storm Francis continues along the Gulf Coast of Texas and the northern Gulf, including Louisiana and Mississippi, picking up some significant rain and some heavy winds, as well as some torrential downpours with the situation. Now, this is a look at the satellite picture. And as you can see, we have widespread showers and storms all the way up here to Mississippi, Louisiana coming in bands up into Texas, while the center of the system is right here near the coast. Let's look at the latest information just in from the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida. And as of the 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time update, Francis was centered at 28.6 north, 97.7 west, or approximately 80 miles south-southeast of San Antonio. Top sustained winds have weakened a bit. Good news here, down to 40 miles per hour. It was at maximum sustained winds about 65 miles per hour when it came ashore about 1 o'clock Central Time this morning around Port Aransas in that area of Texas. It is now moving slower than it was previously, west-northwest at 8, and the central pressure continues to rise a bit. It's up to 993 millibars. We still, however, have tropical storm warnings out from Baffin Bay to Morgan City, Louisiana. Now, we may see these discontinued later this afternoon, but at present they are in effect. Small craft, keep the dinghy at the dock. Don't venture out into the Gulf. It's very, very rough indeed. The threat for severe weather exists there as well. We've already had tornado warnings through the early morning hours, and a tornado watch remains in effect for northeastern sections of Texas and southwestern Louisiana until 1 o'clock Central Time this afternoon. A flash flood watch is also posted for Texas and southern portions of Louisiana, including the Delta country, as the rain has been locally on the heavy side. Now, the storm system, as we mentioned, came inland along the Texas coast about 1 o'clock this morning, and last night there to greet the onslaught of Tropical Storm Francis in Corpus and Galveston was Mike Seidel, and he's still in Galveston this morning. And Mike, you look like you're in between rain bands this morning.
We are, Bruce. We're in much better shape right now. In fact, the sky has brightened up. We've actually seen some blue sky of all things, and now just a few raindrops. We're here in Galveston, right along the beach, across the street from the beach, and this is Seawall Boulevard. Traffic moving fine, and we were out here about 1 o'clock this morning when the heart of the storm made landfall, and boy, was it amazing. It just doesn't get any worse than that unless you're right into the middle of a hurricane. High winds, heavy rainfalls, now a few peaks of sun. The wind has dropped off. That was expected, but you can see the surf is still very rough. We're still getting 6, maybe 7 foot breakers, and you can see they're breaking way out. What do we have to look forward to this afternoon? More breezes, more clouds, and the likelihood of more rain. However, right now we're looking good in the short term here in most of Galveston County, but if you travel north up into northern Harris County, north of Houston, or if you're doing any traveling up towards Beaumont, Port Arthur, over towards Lake Charles, those are the areas right now which are really getting hammered and could get another 5 to 10 inches of rain. That's not saying we're not going to get more rain here. We'll certainly keep you updated. Remember, stay safe. If you don't have to drive, stay home. And if you're out there, watch those roadways. If you come up to a road with water on it, turn around. You don't know how deep it is. Most people lose their lives in flash flooding in their cars. We'll keep you posted. Back to you, Bruce.
Thank you, Mike. Good advice for all the residents that are on the Texas Gulf Coast. Mike Seidel live from Galveston, Texas. Now, earlier, we got some very dramatic video of what it looked like in Galveston as squalls continue to blow in off the Gulf of Mexico. Again, it's some incredible pictures here. Earlier this morning, you can see an area taking a beating from the wind and the rain. Now, some streets buried underwater, and additional heavy rainfall not out of the question for later on this afternoon. Meanwhile, take a look at Houston, Texas, will you? How about that? Driving is no joyride today. At least 6 inches of rain has fallen in some areas of the Houston metro area, and more rain on the way. It's the last thing Houston needs. Now, many streets are already impassable. And again, from the officials of Houston, if you don't have to drive, if it's not absolutely essential, stay at home, stay off the highways, and wait till conditions improve. Joined now by Dr. Steve Lyons, our tropical weather expert here on the Weather Channel. And again, Francis continues to hug the coast, and the northern and northeastern parts of the storm system continue to carry the biggest punch.
Absolutely correct. We've been seeing very persistent rain, strong bands of thunderstorm activity. You can see the circulation center still down here very close to Corpus Christi in that general area. It's not moving very fast. Hurricane Center expects it to continue on a general direction this way later today. Let's hope that does it and get the thing out of the way, because most of the thunderstorm activity is right along the coast within about 100, 150 miles. You can see here on the visible imagery, circulation center here. Here's Galveston over here, Houston up in here. There's still some very heavy showers out there, bands coming in. Mike Seidel there at Galveston was right in this little blue, what we would call sucker hole relative to heavy thunderstorm activity. And you can see here on the radar, very nice indication of where the circulation center is, right about there. With
this is about as organized as this thing has looked since its inception, really. It was always very disorganized and looking more impressive as we speak.
That's right. And quite a bit of rain activity coming all the way across into Lake Charles. I just talked to the MIC, Steve Reiner, in Lake Charles. They had issued a tornado warning for one of these thunderstorm cells here as it moved inland.
That's right. Yeah, and it looks like Beaumont, Port Arthur, the Golden Triangle, they're getting the heaviest rain now. Well, as we mentioned, Galveston down here, again, a bit of a break. And it looks like even Houston's catching a bit of a break here as a little drier air is coming in overhead. But even Louisiana and Mississippi are not out of the woods, even though they are far, far away from where the center of this is located. Yeah, the tropical moisture streaming up over New Orleans, a lot of severe thunderstorms there. Gulfport, Mississippi, a lot of thunderstorms over that area. Of course, the only redeeming value here that we can see right offhand, even though it's stationary, is that the pressure seemed to be rising, so the system is definitely weakening. Okay, and the winds, again, not as big a deal as you might expect with one of these, but boy, there's a sore thumb if there is everything out in the Gulf.
Well, we've been mentioning that there's still some very strong winds out of the south down here. This is an elevated platform here, but gusts to 71 miles per hour, so there's still some very strong winds. If you're trying to fly in a helicopter and land out there, be very, very careful.
So winds, again, are still a little brisk, and of course, the rain and the flooding is the biggest headache with this system.
It sure is, and it'll be so the next 12 to 24 hours.
That's right, 5 to 10 inches of additional rain on top of some of the rainfall totals that we see. And again, Palacios had almost 10 inches of rainfall. Houston, almost 6 inches of rain so far. So again, the rain's been heavy, and even some spots perhaps had even more rain than that reported. Some of the away from the rainfall buckets down there on the coast.
That's right, and that was as of 7 a.m. So they've gotten quite a bit more since then.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Steve Lyons, with the latest information on Francis. We'll continue to have updates on the hour and half hour for you. But again, anytime you want the latest information, you're just as far away as your computer. That's it. Weather.com will get you all the information you need to know. Now let's check out the latest elsewhere across the country. And with that, we go to Weather Will Annan.
Thanks a lot, Bruce. Once again, we'll check your weather map and show you what's going to be happening by later this afternoon. And once again, for much of the north.
People count on us to get them through the day. I love that.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
We're checking our tropical update once again, which is going to feature Tropical Storm Francis as it begins to move its way on towards the west-northwest. The 10 o'clock advisory Central Daylight Time, the center of circulation, again, it was located at 28.6 degrees north, 97.7 degrees west, or about 80 miles south-southeast of San Antonio, Texas. Top sustained winds, 40 miles per hour. Now, some of the gusts have been higher than that. Some of the buoy reports off the coastline of Texas still are reporting some winds gusting up to 60 to 70 miles per hour. That's going to churn the western Gulf of Mexico for sure. So small craft remain in port through the afternoon hours. We still have an angry sea out there, and that's going to continue too. The movement again of our tropical storm, west-northwest at 8 miles per hour. Pressure beginning to rise now, slowly but surely, 993 millibars, so we do have a weakening system. Slowly weakening system, that is for sure. Because look at the convection still moving into parts of Louisiana. The deeper the oranges and reds, the stronger the thunderstorms, the heavier the rainfall. And take a look at this. We're looking at more heavy rainfall belting Lake Charles, Louisiana, parts of Houston, Texas, and we're looking at severe flooding going on now in both locations from Houston and Lake Charles, and more to go as this system continues to work its way towards the hill country of Texas right through early morning tomorrow. Officially, we still have tropical storm warnings out from Baffin Bay, Texas to Morgan City, Louisiana. These may be discontinued this afternoon as once again as our tropical storm begins to weaken and moves a little bit more towards the west-northwest. But keep in mind, we basically have a very strong area of low pressure at the surface, high pressure over the Appalachians right now, and that pressure gradient, or the difference in pressure between the high and this tropical storm, which is just a very intense area of low pressure, is causing some very strong east and southeasterly winds banking up the water against the coast of both Texas and also Louisiana. I'll show you this tornado watch in effect until 1 o'clock this afternoon, Central Daylight Time, for the upper Texas coastline in the southwestern Louisiana. This too may be extended and probably will because of the slow movement of our tropical storm, which should become just a mere tropical low come later on this afternoon. Flood watch is still in effect for parts of Texas, and this is one of the reasons why. Check on some of these numbers. Officially now, Palacios, Texas, almost 10 inches of rainfall. Some of the other locations in between these reporting stations have received rainfall amounts of upwards to 10 to 15 inches and much more to go as well. A break in the action around Houston right now, it appears so, at least on the south side of town, but from Beaumont to College Station and north of Houston, heavy rain is coming down. Look at this area again around Lake Charles. Very heavy rainfall coming back into the picture. Interstate 10 is going to be a problem all day long. The circulation center seems to be east and southeast of San Antonio right now. Slow movement. That's going to mean some more heavy rainfall, as we do expect the forward movement of our system to the west-northwest to really slow down. That's going to be enhancing the rainfall chances and the amount of rainfall during the next 12 to 18 hours. And the feeder bands still coming in from the Gulf of Mexico. Very intense lines of thunderstorms and heavy rainfall, which spells some more problems. Once again, if you take a look at the entire Atlantic basin from the Gulf of Mexico right through the Atlantic over towards the coast of Africa, not much is going on right now, but again, all concern is on Tropical Storm Frances. More to come.
Tropical Storm Frances brings heavy rain and flooding to parts of Texas and other areas along the Gulf Coast. An update on the storm next on Weather Center.
Do your nasal allergies make you feel like a prisoner? Do you feel trapped indoors, especially when there's so much you want to do outdoors?